SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're more than a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors and trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've helped families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. We're dedicated to your success every step of the way. Community Bank, member FDIC.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. It is Friday, January 16th. We have made it through the week, and it is a Friday, and it's a big weekend coming up. The Martin Luther King Day holiday on Monday. We've got a 3-day weekend about to begin. I know plenty of you will not be having a 3-day weekend because you'll be working, some of you all weekend, and especially those of you who are in law enforcement and other first responders and military for whom this is just another day working. Thank you very much for everything you do so many of us can enjoy a nice long weekend. Lance, you got big weekend plans here for the 3-day weekend?
Well, I'll be working Monday and then working tomorrow. So, those are the weekend plans.
So your long weekend is working.
Sunday's a little window.
I know the weekends always work for you.
Most of the time, yeah. Saturdays. Sunday's the day off and get back at it on Monday morning.
Are we live on Monday?
Yes, we should be.
There we go.
We got the email, and we normally are on Mondays of the Martin Luther King holiday, so that's not one of the ones.
That's the kind of service you get from SuperTalk Mississippi.
We try to go you can't do the 24/7. That's impossible. But when it comes to the big holidays, we definitely get those off. So thank you, bosses. But in some of the more satellite ones, we work. That's what we do in this industry. And the world will not stop on Monday. And I hope that you guys though get a day off.
Absolutely,
enjoy it. Winter has officially gotten serious.
It's cold again.
Yeah, man. Winter decided to be winter, and it's having this nice little run of cold weather. Now that some of the rain's behind us, we may get some again in the future. But just enjoy the crisp coolness of what we got going on out there.
It's the beauty. One of the beauties of living in Mississippi with the weather is you never have to wait that long, right? You can enjoy a cold winter, but unlike if you were living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. When it gets cold, it doesn't stay cold for 4 or 5 months. It's freezing now, but you might be in shorts by Thursday.
I saw quite a few guys in shorts yesterday in the 30s, and I was like, are you just being a man's man? Because I was not in shorts and a T-shirt yesterday.
No.
But around the state, as far as the weather goes, in the central Mississippi area, there'll be some increasing clouds. It'll get up to about 61 degrees today, so it'll be nice.
It's not too cold, because yesterday the high was about 40 in the
It was.
Central
Plus,
area.
you had the wind that was kind of blowing around, too. You'll still have the wind today out of the west. It won't be that cold wind out of the north, so it could get up to about 25 miles an hour through the day, so just kind of be careful if you're out on the boats or something like that. Tonight, a 20% chance of showers in the central Mississippi area, probably mostly before 8 p.m., It'll get mostly cloudy, then gradually clear up, and it'll drop back down into the 30s tonight. So be careful. Around 32, the wind will die down a little, so it won't be quite as brisk as it was last night. Tomorrow will be sunny, and you'll have those gusts again. It'll be up to about 47 degrees. And then Saturday night, it'll drop down to 21.
Ooh.
So, yeah, you're getting a little bit of a roller coaster here in the central.
21. Yeah. On the verge of the teens.
It is. I think that's about as close as we've gotten at this point. And then Sunday night, Sunday it'll be around 41, and then Sunday 26 in the evening. For your holiday, around 46 in the central Mississippi area for Martin Luther King Day. If you're on the coast, sunny today, up to about 63 degrees. You'll have a nice breeze out of the south, about 15 miles an hour, kind of keeps everything a little warm. And then tonight you'll have actually a 30% chance of showers between 1 and 5 a.m., so most people will probably be asleep when that's going on. So enjoy your nighttime showers if you have them.
Wake up to some wet ground.
It'll be wet ground and nice and cool. It'll be around 48 degrees tonight on the coast, and you'll have a little bit of wind through the evening. Saturday, it will get up to about 57 degrees, a 20% chance of showers. Saturday night, showers potentially could continue up to 30% chance, and a low around 34. So pretty cold and maybe rainy on the coast. Sunday, it'll get a much prettier sunny, high near 48 degrees. Sunday night, it'll be around 34. And for your holiday Monday, it'll be 56 degrees and should be very clear and pretty on the coast. Nice. So, yeah, that'll be a nice day to get out and do some things. And then up in the north part of the Mississippi, you'll have that 20% chance of showers tonight. There'll be increasing clouds. The showers will have potential after 5 p.m. today if you're up in North Mississippi. Winds could get up into around 30 miles an hour, so be careful. Put the umbrellas down and make sure everything is battened down. 30% chance of showers tonight as well, low around 30 degrees. So you could have a little wintry stuff. You know, you think about 30 and rain, that's right on the borderline, and those dark and kind of in those hollers and stuff in North Mississippi. Be careful.
So this is North Mississippi.
This is North Mississippi.
Not the,
okay, no. So, yeah, we've moved up to the north here, and so you'll have a chance of some cold and iciness maybe this evening. Saturday, it'll get up to 43 degrees, and Saturday night, it'll drop back down to 20 if you're up in that northern corridor. So be careful. Sunny on Sunday, up to 36 degrees. Sunday night, down to 24 again, and then on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, 39 degrees. So I'll give you an eastern part of the state here around Meridian, north and south. Sunny, high near 63 today. Wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Showers likely tonight, mainly between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. So, again, about the time a lot of folks will be going to bed. Mostly cloudy. It'll clear up. 36 degrees tonight. Wind gusts again up and around that 20 miles an hour. Saturday, 51 degrees. Saturday night, up to 24 degrees. In the bare bottom of the evening, it looks like around 24. Sunny on Sunday, 44 degrees. It'll be clear and very cold sunny Sunday night, around 26. And then for your holiday in East Mississippi, you'll have a 52-degree day. Looks like it'll be sunny, a little windy, but again, pretty. So around the state, a chance of showers through the next couple of days. It'll get down very cold in most places, and then by Monday, it'll be in the 40s in most places, in the coast, probably around 50, and it'll be pretty and should be a great opportunity to get out and enjoy a day off. So,
well, that'll be great.
That is your statewide forecast.
But pretty dry today, right?
Until you get to around 5, it looks like a lot of things, you'll start seeing the clouds moving in, and then most of the showers tonight should be as the evening progresses. So
okay.
Hopefully you'll get your day in, and then tomorrow, maybe a little bit of dampness here and there. But looking at the radar, I haven't seen a lot. That doesn't mean there isn't rain, though. I've learned that.
Right, that's right. That's right. But you probably don't have to find the raincoats for the kids today if you're getting them ready for school.
I think you'll be ready to go. It should be a fun weekend, and fun and cold. Winter's here, and you got any weekend plans?
Not a whole lot. We're finally back in we've been doing some work on our house for a while, and so we're back in it. We're in it. Now, the work's not finished, but we're back in it. So I think a big part of the weekend is going to be unpacking boxes. We're sort of in that phase where every day is Christmas because you open something up and you go, I forgot we had this kind of pot.
Yeah, I still have quite a bit of stuff in storage, and every time I go to it, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot I owned that.
Oh, it's a good problem to have. You open these boxes and go, wow, we don't need new spatulas. We got a bunch of spatulas. They're just boxed up.
Deal. One of the I can't remember one of the places. I think it's Ross or Kohl's, they have like an amazing spatula section. I mean,
really?
If you have never been in, if you're just looking for a shirt or something, you go over to their little home section because there are some deals in there. I mean, you'll be kind of like, wow, I didn't know this. And you come home with like a bunch of homemaker stuff, Your wife's going to be like, man, where did you go?
What you been doing?
Yeah, I was clothes shopping. And, but no, it has a great little kitchen section with a lot of neat, things that I didn't even know existed. But yeah, if you're ever in that neighborhood. So
I'll check it out.
Obviously, you don't need those things.
Well, I don't know. We've put an absolute moratorium on buying anything home-related until the boxes are open because we've been gone long enough. You've forgotten some of this stuff. You'll open it up and go, gosh, I'm glad we got this thing.
Well, we got a few birthdays that we mentioned before we hit the break here that'll not a big day for birthdays, but there are a few.
This isn't like last week where we had the Princess of Wales.
No, you got FKA.
Elvis.
Yeah, you got FKA Twigs, 38 years old, singer of Cellophane. Sage, 67, singer, smooth operator. Leah would be 47 years old, R&B singer, was Try Again, and Are You
Died
That
in a plane crash,
That's
as I
right.
remember.
That's right. And then Ronnie Millsap, 83 years old, country
There we
singer, Smoky Mountain Rain, and many others. There's a couple other notable figures here. One of my faves, John Carpenter, 78 years old, film director, Halloween, The Thing, and then obviously, Escape from L.A. and Escape from New York, two great flicks. Jay Foyt, 91 years, A.J. Foyt it should be, 91 years old today, race car driver, four-time Indianapolis 500 winner. Albert Pujols, 46 years old.
That's one I know.
Yeah, he's a big one there. That dude could mash it. Major League Baseball player, obviously, had 700-plus home runs. And then you had Susan Sontag, 93 would have been today, passed in 04, author, critic, and intellectual. It's always nice to have intellectual next to your name. And then one tomorrow, and there's two actually tomorrow that would have been pretty big, but Jim Carrey and Betty White, and then also James Earl Jones and Maury Povich.
Some big ones for
big
Saturday.
Ones for tomorrow, yeah.
Well, y'all, we're coming up on a break. Stick with us. We'll have more coming up right after this break.
Inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
I'm gonna get up in the morning, hit Highway 49.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings, coming to you live from Super Talk, Mississippi. We are here on Friday, January 16th, the beginning of a long weekend. And if you want to let us know what you're doing this weekend, hit us up on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Let us know how you're spending the weekend, and if you've got any big cooking you're planning to do, let us know. Let us know what that is, and you can be part of the conversation on that or anything else today.
Well, you also have a lot of birthdays tomorrow that you could celebrate if that's what you do.
There we
if
go.
You're like into cooking and all of that good stuff, you could celebrate Jim Carrey or Betty White, James Earl Jones, Maury Povich. That's some of your actors there.
There's some big days, big birthdays.
Zoe Deschanel, she's in there as well.
Yeah.
Musicians, Kid Rock, Calvin Harris, Tiesto, Little John, and Ray J. Those are your musicians that have birthdays tomorrow. And then, the other notable figures here, Dwayne Wade, Steve Harvey, Benjamin Franklin, Muhammad Ali. But last but not least, and my favorite, is the meanest person on the planet, and that's the one I'm celebrating. You would think that if you've made millions of dollars and you were the first lady and you've got your life laid out in front of you, you'd be in a better mood most of the time.
You would think so.
But Michelle Obama, she'll be 62 tomorrow.
Really?
And I'm wondering if she'll be in
a better mood.
Better mood. She seems upset most of the time, so I'm hoping she has a nice birthday.
But some of that, I think, is just everybody on the left is just perpetually mad. That's kind of.
Yeah, I was kind of stirring that a little bit.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of madness out there, especially when you hear, was it AOC saying, well, I mean, most of the people getting picked up by ICE don't haven't broken the law.
Except they all have.
But yeah,
they're here illegally.
I guess that's not illegal though to them. That's not breaking the law. But so that I digress. Let's get back to some fun stuff here early in the morning.
God, there's so much of that you can talk about though. It's the truth. But we had some things happen today on the 16th.
Pretty good day for things. Let's see. In 1896, the first 5-player college basketball game was played in Iowa City, Iowa. Now, I didn't do a lot of digging on that, but my curiosity is, was there like 10 on 10 or was it like 2 on 2 before that? And then they finally settled on, 5 works.
Yeah. It's funny how many things that seem settled. I mean, things we do now, how basketball is played, how baseball is played, any of these sports, you think about them as though they've always been that way. But, when you talk about like in the football context, these games that have gone on since the late 19th century, I think if you showed up to one of these games that's been played 110 times, at the very beginning, if you got in a time machine, it wouldn't look anything like what we're playing today. Not just that they weren't wearing pads and helmets, but the rules weren't even the same. Like, to this point, maybe you had 8 guys playing 8 or 2-on-2 or whatever.
Well, you wonder if they were like the Norman Dale School of Basketball, too, where they had to pass it 5 times or something beforehand, what those rules were. Baseball was very nuance-driven. I mean, the guys shared gloves and bats and everything, and most of them were smoking a pack of Luckies on the bench over there, and having a little whiskey with their drink. So, yeah, things have changed a lot. I love old football, especially pro, because college was really the game. We've come full circle back almost in that college football back in that era, the early, 1900s probably, was, pro football was played in cow pastures. Nobody went. I mean, there was just a bunch of dudes that liked playing the game and got together. They didn't make much money. George Clooney's Leathernecks is a great movie to kind of describe that era, but all the colleges were the ones where the money was. I mean, the guys were getting cigarette deals, and all the great players were getting paid because they were bringing in the ticket sales.
Right.
Eventually, that changed, obviously, and the pro game became where you had to earn a living to do it. In college, where you went and got an education and played a little ball.
But man, it's coming back. Like you said, it's coming back.
Every life is not linear, right? And time is not. It is circular. Well, and on this day in history, one of the great things, and I would say biggest faux pas in social history in this country, there have been many, but this was one that most people would agree, I think. In 1920, Prohibition went into effect in the United States of America.
That didn't work out well.
It was in effect for 13 years, made many millionaires in that process. It was a nationwide ban on alcohol production, sale, transport, driven by temperance movements, but ultimately failing due to rampant illegal activities like bootlegging, speakeasies, and leading to organized crime and public backlash, culminating in its repeal by the 21st Amendment. So what is your opinion on that?
On prohibition?
Yeah. Well,
I think it was a bad decision.
Bad idea, huh?
Well, it's tough. Whatever your thoughts are on consuming alcohol, humans have been doing it for basically all of human history.
Since they figured it out.
So it's not, just because government says you can't do it, doesn't mean people aren't going to keep on doing something they've been doing for thousands of years.
Yeah, and then the other side of that, too, was the public health outcry. I mean, people were dropping dead left and right from drinking bathtub gins and all that stuff. And so in the end, it just had a super negative impact to me on everything. You created basically a class of criminal that you never had before.
That's right.
And it was just crazy. One of those just kind of crazy moments in history.
I don't think the other side of it's true, though, because I think a lot of times people say, well, prohibition doesn't work, so we should legalize heroin.
Yeah, no, there's moderation and temperance.
Nobody was shooting up heroin 4,000 years ago.
The Chinese may have had it figured out. I don't know.
They've been smoking a little opium.
They've been smoking a little opium, but the needle, they weren't using like bamboo needles probably.
Right.
But if you go and look back in Mississippi, prohibition officially ended in 1966. It was making it the last state to repeal the statewide ban, though we also had the local dry counties and things of that nature that existed. 2012 to 2021, Mississippi gradually allowed cities with dry counties to vote to become wet.
That's right.
And then in 2021, a law took effect making alcohol possession legal in every county, even as remained for dry states or dry sales in those counties. So,
that's people don't necessarily realize how recently. I mean,
2021 we finally repealed it.
I was Phil Bryant's chief of staff when he signed the law that let cities in dry counties come out from under being dry, and that was very controversial. It wasn't clear that the governor was going to sign that bill until the very last second.
The movement, it was still strong, obviously. I remember those days as we were living in North Mississippi. We would have to drive out to the county line to get cold beer on a certain day, and you just got used to it. But eventually, you had the opportunity to buy cold beer in the city limits, and it wasn't like people all of a sudden started parking at the corner over there and opening up cans of cold beer and drink. Yeah, it's one of those things where it was just weird. And now that it's kind of normal, I think it works better. But in the long run, it took us 4 different events. You had prohibition in the 30s, 66 when Governor Johnson lifted the state's main prohibition law. 2012 through 2021 is where it gradually got back to normal, and then as of January 1, 2021 is when everyone was capable of going it the right way.
People got tickets. I mean, in the last 10 years, people got tickets for possession of whiskey in some counties. I assume, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I assume that was probably somebody, that got tacked on, but I could certainly be wrong.
I can tell you the bootlegging culture was still very prevalent in North Mississippi, especially out in the county, in places where it had been dry, and folks would come in on Saturdays and load up the back of the car, and on Sundays they'd go riding around through the county and have the pints.
Right.
And it was alive and well until I left around COVID. It was still happening. A couple other things happened on this day. Mickey Mantle in 1961 signed a contract that made him the highest paid player in baseball, the American League, for the 1961 season, raking in $75,000. In today's money, $628,814. To compare, Ted Williams, who had just retired, had been paid over $100,000 in a season, and Ruth had a peak salary of $80,000. So,
you think about that, $628,000 is a lot to make generally, but by modern baseball standards, that's
paltry,
nothing.
Especially for a guy like Mickey Mantle.
Right.
Think about that, And today, in 1991, the White House announced the start of Operation Desert Storm, designed to drive Iraqi forces out of Kuwait. I think most of us remember that one.
Absolutely.
I was a kid. I think it was 9th or 10th grade. I remember pulling up to football practice on a Saturday, if I recall, or it was something like that. And then you heard that we had gone to war. And in my lifetime, that was really the first time that, as a kid, I'd heard of America going to war.
Same thing. Absolutely.
Been a few little skirmishes and things of those natures out there, but that was
nothing like
kind of the one that opened the mind. Oh, this is what war is, and we've had a couple of on this days that dealt with that. But has there been a more famous outside of Eisenhower and Patton and Schwarzkopf, a general in the U.S. military? You had Powell and Patton.
Powell, that's right.
Powell and Schwarzkopf at that era, and those guys. Everybody on the planet knew who they were. They knew who was in charge.
Oh, absolutely.
It kind of reminded you of back in World War II when you had Eisenhower taking over supreme command and organizing everything. But you don't hear about the guys like Schwarzkopf and Powell as much anymore.
Not like you used to. No, it's definitely changed. Y'all, this is Lucian Smith here with Lance on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. We'll have more coming up, a little bit more on what happened on this day and some sports after this break.
From theSeabrook.com. This is Mornings with Richard Cross.
Let's do it.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
We chased Lady Luck till we finally struck Bonanza. With a gun and a rope and a hat full of hope, we planted our family tree. We got a hold of a pot full of gold Bonanza. With a horse and a saddle and a ring full of cattle, how rich can a fella be? On this land we put our brand, our pride is the name. Fortune smiled the day we filed the Ponderosa claim.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Remember, Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Well, it is Friday, January 16th.
There is significance to me playing that song.
I want to hear it.
Well, we're going to do a little trivia here because I love Bonanza. And today, on this day in 1973, the last episode of Bonanza aired on NBC.
Really?
The popular Western series ended after 14 seasons. All right, so you Bonanza folks out there, I'm going to give you a little lowdown here, but name the three sons.
I got nothing. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to fake it for you.
All right, so we know Ben. Ben is the main guy. That's Lorne Green, okay? He's the patriarch of an all-male Nevada ranching family set during and after the Civil War. Bonanza is the story of life on the family's 1,000-acre spread known as the Ponderosa, near Virginia City. Ben had three sons, each with a different and deceased mother. Some folks may not remember that. Sirius, an eldest son, Adam. He hoped to follow in his father's footstep. Middle son, Hoss, the gentle giant. physically strong, a little naive at times. And then the youngest son, Little Joe.
Oh, the C Spire text line is lighting up, Lance. With
The most impetuous and romantic of the offspring is Little Joe. And those folks were played by Pernell Roberts was Adam Cartwright. Obviously, Ben was Lauren Green, who just sang the song there that we played on the way in. Little Joe, Michael Landon, one of my favorites, Eric Hoss Cartwright, played by Dan Blocker. Don't ever forget about Hop Sing, a very underrated character in Bonanza, and many others. But what a great show. And Zsa Zsa Gabor, was actually in that, too. So there are lots of folks popped in and out of Bonanza over the years. But I just wanted to throw that out. One of my favorite. 431 episodes, 14 seasons. First episode date was September the 12th, 1959, and ran through January the 16th, 1973. The man who created it, David Dortort. Never heard of him, but I'm sure he's one of those guys that lives on a roof. I'm sure he's not around anymore. But probably had one of those mansions on a big hill,
big view
with gardens everywhere,
absolutely,
butlers running around, and Rolls Royces. Because the guys of that era, man, they were printing money,
no doubt about it.
And on this day in history, this was the day that Phil Spector passed away. Crazy man, the inventor of the wall of sound, and obviously the benefactor of many Netflix whodunit crime shows on the craziness of his life. So, but that's another story altogether. But there we go. Bonanza. We do have some sports to get to today. The cold games are coming in the NFL. This is the fun time of year. You get to the playoffs, and then you start getting snow, and that starts making it a little bit more fun. And there's a good story out on ESPN. If you guys are interested in what guys do to prepare for the cold. And that's one of the fun. As an ex-athlete, that was the worst part of any season, was when you got
playing when it's freezing cold.
Oh, my God, man. It's you just don't feel like an athlete. You feel old, long before you're old, because you're out hitting and all that. I remember being in high school, and I'm sure you played a little football, but those winter practices where you're used to the summer. You've been out there in 2-a-days, and all of a sudden it starts creeping into the cold season, and taking that pop, it doesn't feel as good as it did when you're all
very
limbered up. So if you are interested in that, a very good article out on ESPN. It's pretty deep and goes into some great detail.
Well, what do they do? What sort of?
Just a bunch of stuff, Most of them complain, and just try to get their mind right. Some will sit out and do some things like I'd asked the other day, one of our guests. Like mountain climbers from Austria, they would sleep with windows open and not even under the covers.
Oh, just to get used to the really low temperatures.
Yeah, so some of those things that you'll find out there. Talking about how they keep their hands and feet warm.
If you live up north, is it reversed from how it is down here? Because I felt, when I didn't play much football, but I played my freshman and sophomore year in high school, and you were used to the heat, right? So like going out and having a practice when it was 98 degrees. Now I say it was nothing. I'm sure I was griping about it then, but you were used to it. But if it got really cold, you weren't in Mississippi. You weren't used to that.
No, well, that's what a lot of the offensive linemen will say. Is you have to really think more about how you use your hands and how you're coming on and off blocks, engaging, because your fingers are brittle. And then you have others that'll tell you, like Von Miller says, I really try to play as deep a mind games with myself as I possibly can. Others, they'll tell you that if they get in hot water, it'll start making your hands hurt a little bit more. So there's some interesting.
Yeah, you're supposed to use like warm water, right?
So some of that stuff that you can see what highly paid dudes that are dealing with the same things we do have to go through. But yeah, most of the stuff kind of we all think about, but. It is a lot of it is mind over matter. It's telling yourself, "Hey, I'm not cold, even when you're freezing out there." How do you? Do you respond well to the cold weather?
No, I like it in small doses. But I do not like being cold.
Right.
I like to sleep in the cold, but I would vastly prefer. In fact, at my office we had a brief issue with heat, and I ended up just pulling out the thermals because I'd rather be. I wanted to be comfortable.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I don't like being cold, but I have enough good clothes that as long as I do it right, I'm not going to get cold. I'm going to be in good shape. Man.
Yeah,
I've been out in the woods enough to know that there's a certain cutoff though, where down here our clothes don't necessarily. I don't care how many layers you have. Cold gets through about anything if it wants to. It's like water's going to find a weak spot.
And you don't, with the exception, I think for most people, there may be exceptions to this, but with the exception of hunting gear, most people down here don't have just regular.
Right, that's my point. Yeah.
If you live in Chicago, I'm sure you've got 6 different, options when it's really,
my
really
hunting
cold.
gear is excellent, but my normal clothing is not made for Chicago weather.
That's right.
So I basically go out. You'll see me. It looks like I just came out of the woods. But that's the good stuff,
That's right.
Well, we got NFL playoffs and AFC, NFC, Bills and the Broncos. Broncos 1, Bills 6 seed, and that is a January 17th, 3:30 game. Denver is a 1.5 fave on that. Patriots and Texans, New England's 3-point fave on that. That is going to be January 18th at 2 o'clock. Another January 17th game is the NFC game, the Seattle Seahawks, first seed versus 6, the 49ers, 7 o'clock, January 17th. And then you have the number 2 Bears and the number 5 Rams will tie up on the 18th at 5:30. The Rams are a 3.5-point favorite. And then the 49ers and Seahawks games, the Seahawks are a 7-point favorite in that. We also have a pretty big playoff game coming up on Monday.
Yeah, a little bit going on in college football on Monday.
A lot of folks are probably a little upset. I'm being one of those.
Not the teams a lot of us were looking for.
Well, but, Miami playing at home, those tickets are still around $2,899 for admittance to the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida.
$3,000
yeah, right.
for just okay seats.
Not a great seat either to get that. The line is 8.5 by Indiana. The line was 3.5 when Indiana played Oregon.
And they travel.
And they absolutely trounced Oregon. So this Indiana team looks like on a mission. There's a lot of people that want to see this Miami team win it. I think they want to see a return to glory. It's in Miami. You'll have the whole crew of the 2000s and late 90s showing up. Michael Irvin and Warren Sapp and all the players.
It's going to be packed.
It's going to be a party down there. I think Pitbull's playing for the halftime show. So a lot of it is shaping up where people are going, we want Miami to win this. It's home. And Indiana, a team that's never had a history of winning big, has just beat the mess out of everybody.
They really have.
Very excited to watch that game.
And
even
their
though
fan base really travels.
Oh, yeah, man.
They're going to be a bunch of Indiana fans.
The coach, Alabama has to be looking in the rearview mirror going, man, if, we just would have known how to spell Signetti, we could have hired him. But apparently they thought he was under the level in which they were looking for. It'll be a busy weekend in basketball. Saturday, Ole Miss will take on Mississippi State at 7:30. Ole Miss is 10-7, 2-2 in the SEC. Mississippi State is 10-7, 2-2 in the SEC. Tickets aren't that expensive, so if you're in Starkville area, about $30 gets you in the door to the Humphrey Coliseum. Should be a good ball game. As always, when Ole Miss and State play in anything, it always is. Let's see here. I think we had a ladies' game last night. Mississippi State dropped one to Vandy, 89-84. Vanderbilt is undefeated, so that was a heck of a game by the Lady Dogs, 89-84. Came back at the end, just didn't have enough in the tank. Mississippi State ladies are 14-5. If I got that's right, 14-5. And let's see, I know Southern Miss has Texas State upcoming. They dropped one to Troy. Got kind of boat race the other night, 91-65. The Eagles on the men's side will be getting back to action against Texas State in San Marcos, Texas on the 17th of January. And that game is a 3:30 game. So that kind of gets us caught up on sports. And
it's going to be a good week, good 3 days for football.
Some stuff
that's
going
for sure.
on out there, yeah.
Y'all, this is Lucian Smith here with Lance on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Stick with us. We'll have a lottery update coming up after this break.
From the Venable Glass.
You're up early. You get the news first. Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Time for your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery Corporation. There was no jackpot winner in Lotto America. The jackpot for Saturday, January 17th, is $12.9, well, really just under $13 million. The numbers from Wednesday, January 14th, were 1, 10, 23, 33, and 35. The Star Ball was 6, and the All-Star Multiplier was 3. Powerball, no jackpot winner there either. The jackpot for tomorrow, the 17th, is $179 million. The numbers from Wednesday were 6, 24, 39, 43, 51, with a Powerball of 2 and a Power Play multiplier of 2. Mega Millions again, no jackpot winner. The jackpot for tonight is Friday, January 16th, is $230 million. The numbers that would have won on Tuesday were 16, 40, 56, 64, and 66 with a mega ball of 4. Mississippi Match 5 has a jackpot for tonight of 72,000 smackaroos. The numbers from last night's drawing were 1, 16, 29, 31, and 35. A dozen players across the state turned non-winning scratch-off tickets into just under $1 million in prizes during the Mississippi Lottery's winter second chance drawings held earlier this week. Top prizes of $200,000 went to players in Hazelhurst, Pearl, and South Haven, while $100,000 prizes were won by players in Starkville and Jackson. Additional prizes ranging from $5,000 to $40,000 were awarded to players in cities including Louisville, Corinth, Clinton, Houston, Jackson, Gulfport, and Purvis. The drawings featured 12 different scratch-off games, proving that a losing ticket can still be a winner. Players can keep the excitement going by entering eligible non-winning tickets online at mslottery.com/second chance or on the Mississippi Lottery's official app. The next second chance drawing is set for April 9th, 2026. Every ticket deserves a second chance. Well, we've got a few people here on the list, folks who are happier having played the lottery. An Aberdeen woman won $10,000 on 2 tickets from Shell 45 Aberdeen in Aberdeen. Players from Columbus, Crystal Springs, and Jackson each won $10,400 on cash for tickets that they bought at the Circle K store in Winona, Military Texaco in Columbus, Blue Sky 493 in Hazelhurst, and Canton Discount Drugs in Canton. A South Haven woman won $20,000 on 4 cash for tickets that she bought at Superflow Foods in South Haven. Those are just a couple of the people from Savannah's list who are a little bit richer, and I'm sure a little bit happier now that they've won the Mississippi Lottery. Remember, you cannot win if you do not play, but make sure to play responsibly. That's been your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery Corporation.
Excellent elocution and execution there, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Try to do what I can. Thank you, Lance.
Yes, sir. Well, I know I wanted to make sure that I covered all of the basketball that we have coming. I know there's a Sunday game on the ladies' ticket. Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss is number 16 in the country, 3-1 SEC. Georgia 15-3, 1-3. Ole Miss will have to travel over to good old Stegman Coliseum in Athens, Georgia. Hopefully they'll keep the winning ways a-rolling. And then Mississippi State ladies, they'll have Kentucky at 2 o'clock on Saturday, and they will be hosting them in the Humphrey Coliseum, Starkville, Mississippi. So big weekend in Starkville. You'll be hosting Ole Miss on Saturday on the men's game, and then ladies will be hosting Kentucky. So ought to be a fun weekend in Starkville, too. And I know you're a Starkville guy. That's kind of where I wanted to go with this. You know, I watched Oxford really probably Eli Manning was the moment where Oxford outgrew its britches and decided, oh, goodness, we got a lot of folks that want to spend time here. it seems that Mississippi State, Starkville, has really found its groove in the last 5 or 6 years as well. The times I've been, man, it is just a fun time. Things popping up everywhere. Is that something that I'm just dreaming, or is it really seen a real boom here in the last 5, 6, 7 years?
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's been a real change there from when you and I were high school and college age, where it's
because Starkville was just a sleepy town,
very much so.
A wonderful place, but real laid back, and just didn't have a lot of feel. Now it's like a town. It has this great college feel and city kind of. There's stuff.
Totally, it's a great. It is
neighborhoods
I think that was one of the big differences. Is you wouldn't have necessarily just gone to spend a weekend there outside of sports 30 years ago.
Hattiesburg is absolutely blown
also,
up.
yeah, similar deal. Where now, both are places where you could go, let's just have a weekend trip and go up there, not because we're going to a basketball game or we're going to a baseball game or football, whatever, just because it's a fun place to spend a weekend. So, y'all, quick first hour here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. We'll have a great show coming up after this, but stick with us. We've got Fox News followed by Super Talk Mississippi News coming up now.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Back to Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi and the Super Talk app.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Remember, this hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Call today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Well, on that lottery topic, before we get a little more serious, a Canadian lottery winner spent more than $20,000 on grocery gift cards for strangers after winning a $70 million jackpot. Great kind thing for a person to do. Her name is known, so I imagine all of her cousins are reaching out and asking about some more grocery cards. But that's a nice little thing to do as you've come into a fresh $70 million. Although in Canada, I imagine after the taxes, you probably,
buy a lot of syrup still, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Canadian Mist or, whatever their favorite bourbon is up there. You can probably get a ride on a moose or something for.
That's probably right. That's probably right. A lot of good Canadian things.
Have you ever been to Canada?
Not really. I've been to Victoria,
nice.
Which is right, if I'm getting my cities correct, is right across the street, right across the border from Detroit. So I went to Detroit in high school once, and to say we went to Canada, we went across the border. Have you been to Canada?
No. I've been up to Seattle and Bellingham, see across the border and all that. Beautiful, beautiful area. I've always wanted to visit, though. It kind of made me think a little bit about Greenland. And looking at Greenland and looking at Alaska, if we look at the Earth from the Arctic view, you can understand clearly what the worry is with Greenland.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the greatest purchases ever made, Seward's Folly, was Alaska. It has given us a counterweight to the West, and especially in the northern part out there. You can look at stuff like China, and you can look at Russia, and you can see Japan. Even our former governor up there, she could see Russia from her front porch. So, but it gives us, Alaska's always given us that counterweight to having access to the eastern part of Asia, and to me, it's been very underscored the value Alaska provides in intelligence and staging and also keeping your eye on everything, surveillance. Right. So Greenland has similar positioning, just east of us.
Oh, there's absolutely strategic reasons why the U.S. would want to control Greenland.
The other thing I would say is, what good and what use is Greenland to Europe? I guess, I mean, if you want to, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't see the value to Europe in going, hey, yeah, that's our territory. They can't even protect themselves most of the time without our help. We fund the UN predominantly, and then you've got a bunch of European countries kind of ganging up now. No, we don't want America having Greenland. Why do you want it, though? I mean, it would be my question. I mean,
I think that's fair.
I'm not anti-Europe or anything, but aren't we the ones protecting y'all? And you're acting like Denmark. You're going to protect it with 12 people.
Well, that's the thing that's comical, and we can talk a little bit about the wisdom of some of the rhetoric coming out of D.C. on Greenland. But they've sent, Denmark sent some people. The French, in solidarity with the Danes, I think have sent
Italy
10
and Germany.
guys. I mean, I don't think the U.S. and I'll talk about this in a second. I don't think it is smart for us to be suggesting that we're going to take over Denmark.
No.
Take over Greenland militarily. But if we wanted to, it would take. I mean, these guys would be celebrating at lunch if they started right after breakfast taking over Greenland. I mean, it would be it'd be over in no time.
Well, my theory, and I've shared this with Richard, and we didn't go over this on air, but the way I look at it is Denmark is protecting Greenland. Greenland is a protectorate of
I think
Denmark.
that's right.
So I've gone in and dug around a good bit. Greenland is self-governing and all that stuff. There's not a whole lot of tie to Denmark per se, other than that Denmark says, hey, we're going to protect you. Well, go look at the history of Denmark. They haven't been very good at protecting themselves. So
yeah.
I don't believe that I would feel great about Denmark doing that. On the other end of this, though, I would just basically park a battle group off the point and just say, hey, we're protecting you now. Not take over anything. Just, hey, we're the ones protecting you.
We're the captain now.
We're the captain. Yeah, these guys can say whatever they want, but we're actually doing the job. Because promise you right now, we are doing the job already.
I do think 100%.
Yeah, we're already doing that job. So.
That's right. Which is why them sending troops is so performative. I mean, if the U.S. actually sent military assets, put them on the ground in Greenland, it would be over in minutes. I'm not even sure there would be an actual kinetic resistance from those guys.
And again, it's just a thought that came through my mind as I looked at things and was just digging around the other day. And sometimes it's better just to do something and ask questions later. And I'm with you. I'm not in for invading or boots on the ground. I think you just kind of show your force. You go plug in and sit right there and say, all right, we're the guys in charge now. And if Denmark wants to claim they're still protecting you, great. In other words, don't get in the way of those agreements. But on the other side, if you want minerals and a landing strip or whatever you're trying to build, or a Navy base, you pay them for it, right? I mean,
well, that I think is the solution, and would have been the way, and ultimately maybe the way that we handle it is something. I've seen polling that suggests over 2/3 of the natives of Greenland would vote for independence from Denmark. Mm-hmm. So, it's not like they feel some great Danish tie.
Right, there's not a big one there.
No. Yeah. And so they would vote for independence. And so I think a scenario where they were independent and under some form of, whether they ended up becoming a territory of the United States or we just took a bigger role there, I do think there's some value there. But I think one of the problems the president has is he's got too many people around him right now. I think they tend to be younger people. I think they tend to be very online, spending a lot of time on social media. And they're taking the short-term social media wins and maybe losing the longer strategic wins.
Right.
There is a certain segment who loves the chest thumping, we're going to take it over stuff that you're seeing from Stephen Miller and others. But I think it's alienating some of our allies in a way that's starting to have real consequences. I mean, the Canadians this morning signed a strategic agreement with the Chinese where they're going to increase trade, they're going to remove some tariffs on Chinese products, they're going to cooperate to a certain extent on security. That's a big deal. I mean, the Canadians are part of the Five Eyes Alliance, which are the handful of countries with which we share essentially all of our intelligence because there's that high of a level of trust. I don't think they can be entering into strategic agreements with the Chinese and also having access to all of America's intelligence. I mean, that's a real problem. But it comes from some of these things that the president said, and I like to think it was egged on by people around him and not necessarily organic with him, about we're going to turn Canada into the 51st state, right? Like that was never a good idea. It was never something we were going to do, but the rhetoric has alienated them in a way that may be driving them to the Chinese, and that's not good for the U.S. And I kind of think the same thing of Greenland. I mean, does it make more sense for it to be part of the U.S.? Yes. But would that be the sort of thing that should have been discussed behind closed doors quietly without we'll just take it over stuff? Probably. In
retrospect, your perspective on these large issues, I love the way you break them down because, I mean, they are complex. I mean, there's no one way to do something in politics. Generally, there's so many different angles and so many competing interests, so many politicians and people with stakeholders that have something in. It would have to be fair. And I'm with you a little bit. The rhetoric that comes out of the Trump administration at times seems to be a little heavy-handed. But obviously they have a mindset that projecting strength is likely, the cause of most of that. There's never a projection of weakness from this administration.
That's right.
So they default to the projection of strength. Do you think that's accurate?
I think that's probably right. And there may be, I mean, there's more strategic thinking going on in this administration than the conventional legacy media gives them credit for. And so it may be a way of, trying to swing the other direction after years of being so meek under Biden and Obama. So hopefully there's some real strategic thought there. Well, at Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Will y'all stick with us? We've got a absolutely great show coming up. Leah Ferretti, the director of Mississippi Ready, will be here. Yesterday, hadn't really had a chance to talk about it. Yesterday was a big day in school choice as the House advanced HB 2 over to the Senate. And then at 8:05, we'll have Stafford Shurden, the farmer and author of most recently Meetin' 3. Y'all stick with us. We'll have more coming up after this break.
Going down the Chickasaw, gonna take that right-hand road. Said I ain't gonna stop till I come up there, Big Mama don't. Yeah, I come up there, Big Mama. Folks down the Chickasaw say they all know my name.
From the Venable Glass Traffic
With Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Well, we ride around this old town in my beat-up car with the windows down. People look at her and they look at me.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for starting your day with us here on Friday, January 16th. We have with us in studio Leah Ferretti, the director of Mississippi Ready. Good morning,
Good
Leah.
morning,
how are you doing?
Lucian. Thank you for having me this morning.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about Mississippi Ready and what y'all's mission is, what y'all are doing right now.
So ultimately, Mississippi Ready is what we like to say, the parent voice for parent choice. So we support education freedom. We believe that every child in our state deserves access to a quality education that fits their needs. And most of your listeners out there, if they've heard my story before, they know that I'm here because of the children under my roof. I am here because there was a season in our life where we didn't have another opportunity or another choice, and went back to school and got my master's degree to help them as I was a classroom teacher at that time, and came across ESA, an education scholarship account, and that changed the trajectory and the success of my children in the classroom. And now they're back in a public school. We're in a different part of the state, and I completely credit their success in the classroom today to having education freedom early on. And I believe that all children in our state deserves access. They deserve education freedom, not just a certain population.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. How did this become such a passion for you? You've got obviously 3 kids.
Yeah. So, well, it began when our oldest son was in kindergarten, and he was held back, and we were told, he just needs another year of love, and not really knowing what was going on. We eventually found out that he has dyslexia. And if you're familiar with dyslexia, those children need Orton-Gillingham-based dyslexia therapy. And in the area of the state where we live, there wasn't a dyslexia therapist in the entire region. And what do you do, right? So I went to my husband. I was like, hey, Blake, let's pack up and move. He's like, we can't afford that. We can't afford to sell our house, uproot our businesses, uproot our family. And so the lesser of the two evils, the cheaper option was going to Mississippi College and getting a master's degree. And that isn't a feasible option to many Mississippi families.
That's right.
And that is the realization of why we've got to do something a little bit different. So it affected me and my family very personally. And, at the end of the day, my children are fine. My mission is to help other children in Mississippi. And going through this, I realized really quickly there wasn't a resource, there wasn't a platform for families to go to know what their choices are in our state. It's not going to be on State Department's website. Your principals aren't going to tell you these are your other options if this isn't working for you, and how to navigate that space. So, if you're not an educator or familiar with education, you wouldn't know how to navigate that space. You wouldn't know what your rights are or what you can request. And so that's why Mississippi Ready was born, as an official platform for families to go to, as a resource to navigate the system, and also what education freedom should and could look like in our state.
You make such a good point about you're going back to get the master's degree, because some folks already have choice in Mississippi. Y'all were obviously in a position for you to go and get a literal master's degree to be able to provide what your kids needed. People are able to move from one community to another if they've got the money to do it, or pay for a non-public school if they've got the money to do it. But that's not most people are not fortunate enough to be able to do that in this state. Most people aren't fortunate enough to have the time and the support to go on and do that. So it really is like the president said, almost a civil rights issue.
Oh, you're exactly right. I talk to families every day, and every situation is so unique. I talked to a mother last night that she's a single mom of 2 children, and she's a teacher, but she's afraid to speak up. Because she's like, Leah, I need this. Like, I would love for my children to have this opportunity. I'm a single mom. I'm trying to make ends meet, but I'm afraid to speak up as a teacher because I might get backlash. And my job would be at risk if I speak up and say, hey, this option isn't working for my children. They deserve another option.
And you hit on another good point there. There's so much there is a lot of opposition that seems to be coming principally from the education establishment.
And that is so disheartening, Lucian. That is so sad because of anyone that knows, our educators know that education is not a one-size-fits-all model.
That's right.
And every child is unique, and we should look at education as educating children, not systems that are funding or employing adults. And that is what's so sad and so disheartening as this narrative that is out there, because we've completely lost sight of the point and our purpose is our children.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, the question ought to be is not whether we're funding the system, it's whether we're funding children and doing what we can to make sure they're going to be successful. And to that point, I mean, the overwhelming majority of children in this state are going to remain, even if whatever form of choice ends up passing, they're going to remain in the public school, in the attendance district where they live. This is about the children who aren't a good fit, who would benefit from being somewhere else, right?
Exactly. Even my own children, we are not leaving. I mean, we had an ESA, so when we moved, we could have used that anywhere, but we decided that, hey, and I think a public option might be our best fit for our family right now, and we're in our local school district. So we're not, even when we get this passed, not if, it's a matter of when right now, right, Lucian? And when we get it passed, my children aren't going anywhere else. it's that small population that if they need an option, let's not stronghold them, let's not hold them hostage, and let's give them that opportunity.
So talk to us a little bit about House Bill 2, which is passed yesterday. I assume Mississippi Ready is supportive of that effort?
Absolutely. We support any bill that supports education freedom. And, this is a big old juicy one. It's got all kinds of great stuff in it. And I ask people to take a step back and let's really see, let's dig in it. Let's see what is in it. And, you hear these narratives like, oh, it's going to kill public education. The floodgates are going to open and all these bad kids are going to go into these good school districts. Read the bill. Just read the bill. I know it's a lot. But also I'm asking, go follow me on social media. I try to break it down in little snippets of 30-second to 45-second nuggets to make it a little bit more digestible of what this bill actually does and how it absolutely will project Mississippi forward. And that's where we need to go.
So to that point, if people want to, and I think you make a good point, it's a 500-page bill. Every parent wants the best thing for their children, but most parents are busy enough parenting, they don't have time to sit down and read a 500-page bill. So how can people follow you on social media and get these?
What I like to say, whatever your flavor is. So I'm on Facebook, TikTok, X, Instagram. Whatever your favorite genre is, go follow us. And I truly try to get constant information out there, what school choice is, the different areas of choice, what it looks like. And anytime, and especially now since we're in session, I do give updates on what's going on with the legislative session. And I think the biggest part of right now is my platform is keeping families informed on our legislative process and keeping them engaged. So I think a lot of parents don't realize, hey, these lawmakers work for you. We voted them in. They work for you. And you can contact them. You can reach out to them and tell them, hey, this is something we want. This is something we need. And, Lucian, over 70% of Mississippians want choice. Majority of Mississippians see this, want this. We see our other states that have surpassed us with choice.
Around us.
Look at Arkansas. Arkansas is the number one state that people are moving to. We need people moving in Mississippi, and this is a small piece of that puzzle to move forward.
I wonder, you're lived in the Delta for a good long while. Were people moving from the Delta to Arkansas because of their school choice?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, so I know of a mom right there. Let's see, I think it's Lake Village, Greenville. She worked in Greenville, works in Greenville, and she lives in Lake Village. She would love to live in Greenville. She's like, but I'm not coming across the bridge because y'all don't have education choice, and this works for my family. So she's willing to drive across the bridge every day to work in Greenville. Her job is here, but she's not going to move here to educate her child.
Yeah, well, you make a great point. We are surrounded. Essentially, every state around us has some form of choice that's significantly further along than what we've got, and so it makes a lot of sense for us to be trying to. It doesn't make sense for us to be one of the ones that's a holdout right now.
No, it does not. And but I'm really excited. I'm really excited because I feel like the pulse is there. The temperature's there. We've been in these trenches for so long, and we've got, a little bit more, but we are moving forward, and I'm really excited about what the future holds for our state.
Leah, can you stick with us for another segment?
Yeah, sure can.
Y'all stick with us. We'll have more with Leah Ferretti from Mississippi Ready talking about school choice here. And if you want to be part of the conversation, as many of you clearly do, send us a text at 601-879-4395 on the C Spire text line.
Can't walk like you. I can't love like you. Now things done changed, and I done got old, and I done got old. I can't do the things I used to do. I'm old.
From the Seabrook
segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
On your radio, on our app, or on your smart speaker. We're always free. SuperTalk Mississippi, your home for Mornings with Richard Cross.
morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. We've got with us in studio still Leah Ferretti, the executive director of Mississippi Ready. Is that the right title,
Yeah,
Leah?
you got it. You got it. I've been called worse.
I'm sure. We've been talking a little bit about school choice. I think it's great that y'all exist for starters, because I do think parents need a voice, and so many of the organizations that purport to represent parents, say in a campaign, really seem to be more about representing the education establishment. And so I appreciate all the good work that educators do in this state. I appreciate that the legislature's continuing to work to increase pay for our teachers. But at the end of the day, you've got a lot of these powerful administrators who I think seem to be against any sort of change, and it's more about the establishment than it is about children.
And I get it. Change is scary, right, Lucian? And if change is scary, it's uncertain. But, back to you, and thank you for, all your kind words about being a parent voice. And that's why I'm here today, because parents are the silent majority. Parents are the ones that are making those hard decisions at their dining room table. They are, looking at no other options and just want a lifeline. They just want a lifeline. And like you said earlier, with school choice, it's the floodgates aren't going to open. That's not how school choice works. And what I'm really excited about, I want to talk a little bit about House Bill 2. It's got all these great and good things, but one of my favorite things in it is the accountability dashboards.
Tell us about that.
All right. So right now, if you go to any district's website, and some districts may have it, but it's not required of them to have any of their information transparent. And that is so necessary for families when they're making their decisions on where their children are going to school. So this would make easy-to-read public dashboards that show performance, growth, attendance, readiness, and financial data of the district. So I feel like that transparency component is so important. And then another component that no one's really talking about is the decreasing in state testing or overall testing. My children are in the public sector, and I feel like they are being tested to death. Teachers are required to teach to these tests. They're required to administer these tests, and we've got to stop doing all this testing. We've got to do it and let teachers get back to basics and do what their craft lets them do, is teach our kids.
And is that affected by House Bill 2?
Yes, it is. It is. So it will decrease your formalized testing, and it also is going to expand choice through what we're calling Magnolia student accounts. So it's a form of ESA education scholarship accounts that allow families to use public funds, public dollars, is what people are calling, to for approved education expenses. Beyond that of private school tuition, tutoring, curriculum services, transportation. What a lot of people don't realize, if a child has or needs other therapies, a lot of times insurance doesn't cover it. Insurance doesn't cover dyslexia therapy. And a lot of times families have to decide, okay, well, I can't afford to pay this out of pocket. I don't have any other help to pay for these therapies. My child's just not going to be able to get it.
That's interesting. And these ESAs, they're already doing some of the work there, right?
Yes. So right now in the state of Mississippi, we have special needs ESA. So if a child has been enrolled in a public school and they have an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, just a living document that states that your child has one of the 13 strands that are covered under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and it follows them throughout their school career. It measures growth. It has goals on there that your child needs to reach, and it's a whole team that kind of helps them achieve those goals. So if you have those components, you qualify for the special needs ESA. Then we have the dyslexia scholarship and the speech scholarship, but those cannot be used at any school. Those have to be used at, I think it's one of 11 schools that are certified in the state of Mississippi that you're able to use those funds. So then again, it's very limited. It's not accessible. And you said earlier, President Trump has said this. This is a civil rights issue of our time. Like, if you are lucky enough to be born in an area that has great schools, you might be fine. If you are fortunate enough for your family to have financial means, you might have another opportunity to not only live somewhere or afford tuition and zip code. So we are absolutely discriminating according to our zip codes and where you live. Where I live right on the Canton line, and literally there's like 4 houses on one side of the street that are cut out, and they're in one school district, and on the other side, and their neighbors are in another. That doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
To me whatsoever. But anyway, so if you want to, I guess, talk more about what school choice is, and right now
tell us what all is in the bill and what y'all are really excited about.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of time to talk about everything in the bill, but I am excited about the Magnolia student accounts. It's a very responsible, conservative way of phasing in choice. And it's going to start out with 12,500 students in the first year, and it's going to expand over time, and it's going to be accessible to low-income families. So that's where the focus is. And school choice, that is what families benefit from this. Our low-income families, our families that have special needs that they may not have the means. And because I think I've heard the narrative, school choice only helps the wealthy. The wealthy already
really
have.
The opposite. Yeah,
yes,
no, that's
wealthy
exactly
already
right.
have choice. And also the notion that all children and all families that are in private schools have means.
Yeah, also isn't true.
It's not true. I grew up, I'm the oldest of 3 girls. My dad was a maintenance man at a catfish plant. My mom kept books. And there were times we didn't have electricity because they had to choose between tuition and electricity. And those are real sacrifices that people are making every day. Really excited about the Magnolia student accounts. Really excited about the accountability dashboard. It's going to
That's great, and one of the things that's been discussed last.
Yes, absolutely. And stronger literacy and math outcomes in middle school. We have made some amazing gains in reading because of our third grade gate. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember getting those emails of when our lawmakers were trying to pass the third grade gate that, if you teach third grade, nobody wants to teach third grade because you might lose your job if your students fail. And I don't have the direct statistic, but I know the Superintendent's Association stated that almost half of Mississippi's third graders were probably going to fail if they passed the third grade gate. And do you know how many failed? 8%.
Right.
8%. So that showed me that they didn't have faith in their teachers and how their teachers were teaching, and they didn't have faith in our students. So the sky did not fall. Not all of our third graders were held back. But now because of that measure, that is why we are so successful today, and we have seen those reading gains in our state because of conservative policy.
Absolutely.
And you know what? There was pushback because I very vividly remember those emails telling me, as a teacher, you don't want this. You need to call your lawmaker and tell them to vote no on the third grade gate because it's going to ruin education.
It's the same people who are screaming the loudest now against this were, for the most part, the same people, the same organizations who were screaming against the education reform bill in 2013 when Governor Bryant was promoting it. I mean, to me, they've lost all credibility because they're the people who were against it then, and those children are materially better off because we ignored them.
Yes, absolutely. So we're seeing those gains in our fourth grade reading scores and our gains overall nationally. School choice is a small component of that. We need to have that. And in this bill, going back to talking about stronger literacy and math outcomes, if anyone's looked at our 8th grade scores, our 8th graders, I have an 8th grader. They're almost abysmal. Like, we've got to do better. So we can't just do well in one section. We got to keep moving the ball down the field for our middle schoolers and our high schoolers, because the ultimate goal is getting them out of high school. The ultimate goal is that they're productive citizens, and we want them to stay in our state.
That's right.
And it also offers or it addresses financial literacy. So right now, my 10th grader is taking Algebra 2, and the battle of him, like, where am I going to use this in real life? Why do I have to have it? Well, buddy, you got to have it to graduate. But financial literacy, he's like, I want to learn the stock market. I want to learn, what investments are out there. Like, what are things that I'm going to need to know in math financially when I am an adult. And financial literacy is absolutely part of that. I mean, look at our debt, our nation's debt right now. Going to go get a student loan with a high interest rate may not be your best option.
Right.
Right.
Leah, we're almost out of time. Tell us, because I do think y'all are putting out some great content. If people want to follow you, I know on X it's Leah C. Ferretti, 2 R's, 2 T's.
Oh, that's my personal. But yes, you can follow me on my personal. Yes, it's B Mississippi Ready. So there is another one on X. Follow me on my personal. But check out our website at MississippiReady.org. You can take action to reach your lawmaker today. We've made it super simple. It takes less than 30 seconds to let them know you support House Bill 2 and education freedom. And you can follow us on all social media outlets at Mississippi Ready.
Mississippi Ready. That's a great place to get more information on what will be one of the defining fights of this session, and I think one of the most important things we can do for education.
Yes, and you know what? I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, thanks for all you're doing, and thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Lucian.
Y'all, we've had Leah Ferretti, the Executive Director of Mississippi Ready, talking about school choice. Stick with us. We'll have more coming up after this.
Preventable glass traffic.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I was 3 days short of pulling out of Kingsport. I was headed down to Houston town. Had a guitar packed in a burlap sack, or explore it in my country sand. I bypassed Jackson.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Great conversation with Leah Ferretti there about education choice. A lot of y'all had many thoughts, and if you want to be part of the conversation now or in general, send us a text at the ceasefire text line, 601-879-4395. But she is exactly right. There is a powerful education lobby in this state, powerful establishment effort, and they fight change tooth and nail. I've seen a few people in the ceasefire text line who said, we were for the literacy reforms, but are against school choice. And I'm not talking about individuals. There are certainly some individuals who, for one reason or another, supported the 2013 reforms but don't support this now. I'm talking about the big institutional powers who are against this. And by and large, the same folks who were against it then are against it now. I remember I was ran Phil Bryant's policy and legislative operation when we developed this piece of legislation back in 2013, and a lot of what's in the proposal in HB2 were things we had in the original versions of the Education Works reforms from 2013. That ultimately weren't successful, like having these 8th grade math and literacy efforts. But Leah was exactly right. I mean, I remember sitting across the table from the then superintendent of education who pointed at the bill and said, this legislation will hurt children, trying to talk us out of it. And fortunately, Governor Bryant, keep in mind when Governor Bryant did this, and it wasn't Governor Bryant alone, but he was the catalyst that got this passed. He was the one who said he was going to spend all of his legislative energy in the 2013 legislative session on education. When he did it, it was the second year of his first term. Now you look back politically, and it seems like a sure thing that he was going to be reelected in the 2015 election. That was not at all the case in 2012. When he began deciding this. I mean, I remember flying back from an event with him, and we had this conversation, and I encouraged him to focus all of his energy the following year on education. He took some time to think about it and came back and said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make education the sole legislative focus the next year. And it would have been easy for him to have just taken a couple of box-checking efforts, had a little bit on education here and there so that you could put it on a push card or a mail piece for the 2015 re-elect. But he really put everything on the line. If that bill had failed, he would have lost a lot of credibility at the legislature because it would have shown that he didn't have the influence over there that people would have assumed as a former lieutenant governor. If the policy was once it got implemented had been the disaster that the education establishment told everybody that it was going to be, he would have had real trouble running for re-election in 2015. But he trusted a bunch of very, very smart educators. He assembled a group of educators and administrators, and the task that we gave them was to put together the best piece of education legislation that you could. Not a box-checking thing, not a more money thing by itself. What could you do to improve educational outcomes? And I distinctly remember the conversation with Governor Bryant where he said, look, Lucian, you worry about the policy. I'll worry about the politics. And we put together something that ultimately was life-changing for a lot of children. It's a testament to him. It's a testament to the legislators who were involved at the time. Philip Gunn was the speaker. Tate Reeves was the lieutenant governor. Brad Mayo was the person who actually carried the bill in the House as a freshman. And Gray Tollison was the chairman of the Senate Education Committee. And as a result of a lot of courage from a lot of legislators, there are children's lives who have been fundamentally changed. Kids who can read now, who will be productive citizens, who are under the old system almost certainly would have fallen into ruin. And that's a direct result of people having real courage to do something real. And so kudos to everybody who's been involved so far in the education reform effort. We got a long way to go to get a final bill, but we're changing outcomes in Mississippi. And at the end of the day, that ought to be the goal. I think about a lot, if you go back, that bill passed in 2013. So we're now 13 years on from the passage of that bill. If you're a third grader, you're about 7 or 8. So the kids who came through that gate for the first time are now in their late teens to 20. And some of their lives are different than they would have been if men and women in the legislature hadn't had real courage back in 2013. And I certainly hope that they will have real courage in 2026 to do something meaningful so that a decade from now we can look on the new Mississippi miracle that's a result of real reform. Y'all stick with us. We will have coming up in the next segment the author of Meat and Three, Stafford Shurden. But coming up next, we've got Fox News followed by SuperTalk Mississippi News. Stick with us. We got more coming up.
First for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
The third hour of Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. This is Lucian Smith in for Richard Cross. Remember, Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Well, on the line with us is Stafford Shurden, the author of Meat and Three, a restaurateur and farmer. Stafford, how you doing?
I'm better than I deserve this morning. What about you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate your taking the time to be with us this morning.
Yeah.
I'd say it's
early.
I'm
excited to be here.
I'd guess in your line of work, 8 o'clock is not early.
No, that's not early. I learned a long time ago that work starts about 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and no stopping, no free weekends, I'd imagine.
You know, this time of the year we take a minute or two to go duck hunting or deer hunting or something. So there's that.
Right. It's seasonal though, rather than 40 hours a week.
Sure. It's always at least 40. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
One question I have, though.
Please.
Obviously, you're in Drew. How's the duck season been so far, Stafford? This is Lance here. I know the chicken season's good because I can tell on your plate there, but how about the duck season?
Yeah, we never run out of chicken. But the duck season has been so-so. I was a duck hunting guide back in the 90s and early 2000s. It's nothing like that anymore. But we've had a pretty decent season this year.
Any bands? You taking home any trophies? No, not yet.
No trophies this year. No trophies.
Well, tell us a little bit about the book, Meetin' Three, which is MEET for anybody who's on the radio and not watching us on C Spire television right now.
Originally I was kind of inspired by stories of going over to my grandmother's house and mowing her yard and eating food with her. She had a lot of grandkids, but I got a lot of one-on-one time with her because one of my chores was mowing her yard. And then that kind of came into eating meat and threes out on the farm, stopping by the little local gas stations, Sullivan's Barbecue, Robinson's. And the more I wrote this book, it kind of became more about the characters that I've met along the way. And we kind of, as a play on words, went with Meetin' Three. But the funny thing about it is, it's my story, but Lucian, it's your story too. If you grew up in Mississippi, you had this story, the same story. Now, people outside of the state don't really understand that, but I think in Mississippi, if you read this book, you're going to be reading your own story to a degree.
Yeah, I've heard it described. I've not yet had the chance to read it, but I've heard it described as part memoir, part philosophy of life. Is that a pretty good description?
It really is, and this idea how often food and friendship and all those things intersect, and I think that's the human condition. But for sure in Mississippi, food's such a big part of our culture and the way we relate to each other, and we cook together and we eat together and we break bread together and we do it at Sunday church. But really it's, and I've got my F's. Robert St. John's got his F's. I got mine too, but it's faith, family, farming, and food.
There we go.
And that's really what the book's about.
Hey, what's the best way, if folks want to get the book, what's the best way to get it? I imagine it's available in any retailer.
But you can walk in any bookstore and they can order it if they don't have it. I love to support my local bookstores. I know that Square Books in Oxford's got quite a few of them. I went by the other day and signed some more. But you can also, your traditional, I say traditional, your online retailers have it, like Amazon now. And Barnes & Noble and all that. Yeah, that is, as bad as I hate to say that, because I have a little small restaurant in Drew, Mississippi that kind of mimics my grandmother's style of cooking. But, so I'm a big supporter of mom and pop. So if you could go in your mom and pops and order it, a lot of them have it in stock, but you can also order it on Amazon.
Well, the beauty of those mom and pop bookstores to me is you're going in there with people who actually read books. I mean, you can have a conversation with them about what to read, and they've read it. It wasn't just pushed out by the central office on what they're trying to move that week.
Absolutely. When I was in Square Books the other day, I was like, hey, what book do I need to buy while I'm in here? Because they know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We always try to buy books from our local bookstore here in Jackson because the folks at Lemuria, they read books. They can tell you what's good because they've actually read them. What got you interested in writing a book? Is this your first book?
This is my first book, and it's kind of a hybrid, self-published, but I do have a publisher thing. And I've always liked writing. I've written a couple things for Delta Magazine, Mississippi Magazine, and a business coach of mine said, Stafford, you really need to write a book because it is a business card. I'm not going to lie. It's a business card in a way. So I give a lot. The book selling business is okay, but the book giving away business is really good. So I do give quite a few copies away. And it is, sometimes you just got something you want to say, and you don't know why you want to say it, but I wanted to write about something that I knew from my first book, and that was growing up in Drew, Mississippi, and Archie's hometown. He described it as Mayberry, and even though I'm a lot younger than Archie, it was Mayberry for me too, man. I had a great childhood growing up in Mississippi. So does it go through? So sort of give us a sense of the narrative arc of the book. I mean, does this start with your childhood and go from there, or how does it play out? it starts with my adoption story. I was adopted. And that's kind of a theme in the book a little bit, that this idea that, and as an adult, you and I can have a conversation about my birth parents, why they had to give me up. There could be a million reasons that I don't know. But as a kid, all you know is the people that should have wanted you when you were vulnerable didn't. Mm-hmm. And, just kind of by chance almost, there's a story in the book of my parents had to pass this water test, and they couldn't pass it to get me. And the guy that was taking the water went by his own house, got water out of his tap so that I could go home.
Oh, like a literal water, like water safety?
Yes, water safety, because they lived in the country. They were not on a community water system.
Yeah.
And just little stories like that all through the book, and we all have those stories where these little things that we don't even know about transform our lives in ways that we could never guess. And I mean, I'm a literal baby, and that happens. It's like my first real gift was getting to go home to Drew, Mississippi. And that kind of is the arc all the way through the book, are these chance meetings and just these characters that I meet along the way in Drew, Mississippi. All these father figures I ended up with because I got given up for adoption,
And you're talk a little bit about the philosophy of life that's in there. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but talk a little bit about about sort of that piece of it.
Zig Ziglar from Yazoo City, I think, says it best. You can have anything you want in life as long as you help enough other people get what they want out of life. And it really is about relationships. I mean, life is about relationships. It's about who you meet and how you treat them. And I think if I didn't write it this way in the book, and I wish I had, but at the end of the day, I do think that's the lesson from the book. Now, there's some little business things. I talk a little bit about the struggles we went through as a small town restaurant in Drew, Mississippi, that was only supposed to last 6 months, and 21 years later, we're still there. Huh. So it's a little bit of business advice in there, but really it's about relationships. So that's my philosophy on life is it's business is about relationships,
Well, and life is too. I mean, the happiest people tend to be the ones who have the healthiest, happiest relationships with other folks.
Well, that's kind of my point. It's like the same things that would make me and you friends also could make me and you great business partners,
right.
Or great, customer business owner relationship or whatever. But life is just about relationships. It's about the people you meet along the way. My high school English teacher, Bobby Dubard, she's 90, just turned 92, I think. She had me write a paper in high school, this poem that Tennyson did. And in it, he says, "We're a part of all we've met." And that really is what the book's about. At the end of the day, we are a part of all we've met.
That's a great way to sum it up. Stafford, we're coming up on a break here in a second. You stick with us. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that restaurant and fried chicken and some other good Southern food topics.
Gas station food, man.
There we go. Stick with us. We'll have more with Stafford Shurden, the author of Meat and Three, and a farmer from Drew, Mississippi. We'll have more coming up next.
Summer all winter without 'em's a culinary bummer. I forget all about the sweating and digging every time I go out and pick me a bit. Homegrown tomatoes, homegrown tomatoes. What'd life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes. But you can go out to eat, that's for sure, but it's nothing a homegrown tomato won't cure. Put 'em in a salad, put 'em in a stew, make your very own tomato juice. You can eat 'em with eggs, eat 'em with gravy, eat 'em with beans.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
The ones that give their lives so we don't have to sacrifice all the things we love, like our chicken fries and cold beer on a Friday night. A pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio. I like to see the sunrise, see the love in my woman's eyes, feel the touch of a precious child, and know a mother's love. It's a little chicken fried and cold beer on a Friday night.
Y'all, this is Lucian Smith in for Richard here on Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We have with us on the line Stafford Shurden, the author of Meat and Three, a great book on life and philosophy of life, and a little bit of memoir in there too. And we were talking earlier, and that Lance, as usual, did a great job teeing it up with that bumper about Stafford's on Main Street, which is your restaurant and deli. It's been around for 21 years. Did I hear that right?
21 years of May 1. So
wow.
May 1st it'll be 21 years, which is crazy.
How did you go into that business?
Hubris. I said I wanted to open a restaurant and zero restaurant experience. That's why a lot of people thought I wouldn't make it. And I'm just hard-headed enough that I just figured it out through trial and error. And all that's also in the book. And you know, I've lived a lot of lives. I was a duck hunting guide. I'm a farmer. I was a justice court judge for 14 years.
Really?
And yeah. And as an advertisement for the restaurant, because we couldn't afford marketing, I started reviewing gas station food about 5 or 6 years ago, which is why I'm in South Carolina, or just left North Carolina this morning. And one thing we kind of pride ourselves on is our fried chicken. We wanted to have the best fried chicken in Mississippi. That was kind of the goal. And if you're going to have good fried chicken in Mississippi, the real competitor is the gas station, right?
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. And so there's so much great fried chicken and great gas station food in Mississippi. I'm about 230 episodes in on that deal.
You're absolutely right, though. And it's something people who aren't from the South, I don't know, really appreciate that. You know, I wouldn't think in most places you'd want to go into a gas station for a great meal, but you can do it all over the South and certainly in Mississippi.
It really is all over the South. And at first I thought I was going to do like 15 minutes at home or something like that. And the next thing I know, I'm going 2 hours out, and then I'm on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, which has great food, by the way. Then I'm in South Louisiana. And what started as an advertisement for my restaurant, because we're so small and we couldn't really have a marketing budget, blew up into something totally different. And in the book, I knew a lot of people would buy the book because they follow my show. There's an addendum in the back of some of my favorites. I had to squeeze that in there because I've got through writing and I'm like, there's nothing about gas station food, a lot about my restaurant, but nothing about gas station food. And I know those guys are going to buy the book. So I squeezed in like my favorites that I've been to so far. When I wrote the book, I've been to a lot of new ones since then.
Where can we see your reviews of gas station food?
Any platform you want to get on, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, you just type Stafford Shurden in, and that's the first thing that comes up. And it's kind of funny, you know. Like I said, I won 4 elections as justice court judge, did all this other stuff, but most people know me either from the book or from eating gas station food off the tailgate of a pickup truck.
I hadn't seen those,
right?
But I'll check that out.
It's pretty funny. I was in Nashville the other day and got recognized in Nashville for having that. So it was kind of weird. Yeah.
That's funny. But Stafford's has won some awards for your fried chicken, haven't you?
So last year we won Best Fried Chicken in Mississippi,
which is saying a lot.
A Mississippi Magazine thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be honest, and we won Best Blue Plate.
Really?
But, you know, that is a result of me taking social media marketing seriously, because I know there had to be people that follow me that have never eaten there that voted. You know what I mean? Because you can just go online and vote. So I'll be 100% honest there. And I'm going to tell you, even after I've done this thing and eaten a lot of fried chicken in Mississippi, it's hard for me to say what the best is, because there's so much that's like
so much
top 5.
Yeah.
And there's like 15 that you could put in the top 5 and feel good about it, right? Just in Mississippi.
No doubt. Lance and I both have been we're perusing the Facebook page and seeing all the stuff you've got there, and the food looks fantastic.
You know, we've had a lot of 21 years. You have a lot of iterations when you don't know what you're doing. So we started out kind of as a sandwich place, and it didn't take long. We started cooking more what I call grandma food. Some people call it soul food. Some people call it country cooking. But we really just, in 2021, I just threw the book out and I said, let's pick a lane and try to be the best at it of anybody. And we started cooking more from scratch, no canned goods. We either buy fresh, frozen, or dried peas, that kind of thing. And we really did. I've got a great team. I'm here, in a whole other time zone, and they're going to be killing it today. They're going to do so good without me. They don't ever even know. As a matter of fact, when I show up now, it kind of messes things up. So they're that good.
Which is a sign you're running things right.
Well, they're running it right. I trust them, and they trust me, and they cook great food, and they know what the standards are. That's a lot about at the end of the book when I'm talking about philosophy. It's really about what standards do you set for yourself in life, and we think we all rise to the level of our goals, but really we fall to the level of our standards.
That's a great way to put it. Say that again for anybody who was driving and not paying good enough attention, Stafford.
Well, everybody thinks, it's all about, and I do set goals. It's all about goal setting and reaching these big goals. But when we slip to the level of our standards. So you get out of life what you expect, what your standards are. So that's really kind of my philosophy, is that if I have high enough standards, we'll eventually get there.
That's a great way to put it. That's wisdom right there, it sounds like.
Well, it didn't come easy.
I don't think much real wisdom does.
I'll tell you the other thing about writing the book. I wanted to write a book years ago, and I felt like, man, I don't have enough wisdom. I'm not old enough. And I woke up and I was 50. I'll turn 53 this year. And I thought, well, my gosh, how old do I have to be before I can say what's on my mind, where I feel comfortable saying what's on my mind? And I was like, man, if I don't do it now, I'm going to look up, I'm going to be 75 and never have done this book. So I just decided I do have something to say. Maybe I'm wrong. And on some stuff, I've already gone back and thought, man, I wish I'd have said this a little differently, but that may be just human nature.
That's probably right. That's all the more reason. It just means you may have to write a second book, Stafford.
I hope so. And I tried, and I enjoy writing, and I think, I don't know, my high school English teacher was proud of me. So my 92-year-old high school English teacher. So maybe it's pretty good.
I've thought about a few of those teachers over the years who you want to go back and go, look, it worked out. It all worked out. You may not have been optimistic, exactly. But it's fine. It's turned out fine. We got on the C-Spire text line. Somebody asks whether your reviews include grocery store deli fried chicken. Is that have you done any of those?
I have not. I've tried to be pretty straight with the gas station. Occasionally, I'll make an exception, but there are some great grocery store fried chickens in Mississippi. A lot of Piggly Wigglies and stuff like that. But I hadn't done any of those.
Well, there's an awful lot to. There's enough great fried chicken, I would imagine, just in gas stations to check out.
It is, and I do a lot of other stuff. I've done the gas station sushi, believe it or not.
Ooh, how'd that work out?
And it was good.
Really?
It worked out good. There's a place in Jasper, Alabama called BioFresh Seafood, and they've actually been on True South. If you've seen that show on ESPN, it was good sushi. I mean, it's hard to believe, but it really was good.
Well, I guess if it's fresh, I guess it's got to be. This got to help.
I was at the Outer Banks yesterday in North Carolina, and I had a crab cake slider for breakfast
at
a restaurant in a gas station. It was exceptionally good. And then I went to another place and had one of the best sandwiches I've ever had. I mean, it was beef short rib sandwich at a gas station. So there's really interesting places. And the deeper I get into this, the more that kind of stuff I find.
Well, Stafford, unfortunately, we are out of time. We can find you on YouTube by looking up Stafford Shurden. And tell us again the name of the book.
Yes. Meat in 3, and you can get it at any local bookstore.
Well, y'all, thanks for being with us. Stafford, thanks for taking the time while you're out reviewing to be with us. We've had Stafford Shurden, the author of Meat in 3, with us. Stick with us. We'll have more here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Where she cast her spell, and in that southern moonlight, she sang this song so well. You be my busy ticket, I'll be your Tennessee lamb, and we can walk together down in Dixieland,
From the Seabrook.A
and stay ahead of the curve. Halls of Washington, D.C. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Now in darkness, world stops turning. Ashes where the body's burning. No more war pigs have the power. And as God has struck the hour, day of judgment, God is calling.
You almost hate to come in over.
Yeah.
This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Community Bank. Rooted in our community, communitybank.net. There really is some great gas station food in Mississippi.
Yesterday, there was a new gas station that opened up pretty close to my house, and I decided to take a little detour. I normally go one route and get a chicken tender or something like that, or a chicken leg for lunch. I don't eat a whole lot. It's just like, a little nibble.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, I'm going to go by this place. I had gone through there about a week ago after I'd remembered they had opened, and I noticed they had some really good-looking food in there. So I wheeled in yesterday and said, I'm going to get a piece of chicken and try it out. And I walk in, and the guy that I'd met the other day, he's Indian, and he was wearing his, whatever. I don't remember what you call the Indian turban, but he had one on. Super nice guy. And he's like, man, are you going to get some chicken today? I said, oh, yeah. I've definitely come with an appetite. And out walks a guy that looks just like him. It is his twin brother. And they're the chicken chefs. And I was like, I had a hard time picking what I wanted because there were so many good-looking cuts. The breast, the leg, the thigh, all that looked good. But over here was this chicken on a stick. And I'm kind of a chicken on a stick fan.
Yeah, chicken on a stick's good stuff.
And it was absolutely the best chicken on a stick I've ever had. And it kind of blew me away, because it is a gas station. And you got guys that were from India that have come here and learned how to cook our way. And it was, I sat there and ate it in the parking lot, went back in and told them, this is the best. Don't change whatever you're doing. Don't change it. And they were so excited because they're like, oh, we were hoping, people would like our fried chicken. I'm like, this is the best around. And honestly, it was just kind of blew my mind. So when Stafford says that, I go to gas stations specifically looking for fried chicken. That's one thing that I do and always have, and find a great satisfaction in getting that piece of chicken that is just perfect from a gas station. And before you even get out of the parking lot, there's crumbs all over you. There's meat flying everywhere.
Oh yeah, you're going to make a mess. But you know that.
That's where you go.
If you're going to eat it in your car, it's going to go everywhere, and that's part of the experience.
But that's one thing. I loved his mindset too. Growing up with one half of my grandparents were farming folks, so every time you showed up at the house, there was butter beans and green beans and turnips and everything you could imagine, and that would just be for a normal meal. So how we eat today is so different than what we may have grown up with. I think we pattern convenience versus quality, and that if those of us that grew up 30 years ago, you remember those meals, and they're like, man, you don't see that too much, but you can find them in gas stations now.
That is a really good point. We've apparently inspired some people. We've got one person from the coast has hit us up on the C Spire text line that they've grabbed a brisket and egg wrap this morning, even though they weren't hungry, but just all this good gas station food discussion has inspired him.
The Bubba in Starkville, he says the food giant in Columbus, he gets an 8-piece mixed every Friday for the weekend, $7.99. It's amazing. Well, look,
It's a good deal.
I'm a whole bird fan too. You know, if you're going to do it, get the whole bird. And you know, I can't. It's hard for me just to go, okay, give me a leg. You know, if I'm going to eat fried chicken and you know it's good, you know, it's almost like give me 2 breasts, 2 legs, 2 thighs, 2 wings, and throw a beak in there if you don't mind.
in for a dime, in for a dollar. There we go.
One of my favorite things as a kid, though, and I never ate one, was going into the gas stations where it would be like where they sold crickets and worms around the reservoir, because people would go in there and get food, you know, and my grandparents had a cabin out off Clear Creek. So there was a couple of little gas stations there, and you'd walk in, and they always had the Slurpee machine, the icy. It'd be like the red and the blue. And then you would have the pig feet and all of the pickled stuff on a counter. And I remember being little bitty going in there and going, what in the world is this stuff? I never really saw anybody dunk the hand in and get it, but every now and again you go back and there's 1 or 2 missing, and I was always conscientious of that. Like, I'd count them, and people would have bought them. And have you ever dunked in and grabbed the pickled pig ear or the pig
I've
foot?
seen it, but like you, I grew up seeing them in gas stations,
You don't
so
see them as
clearly
much
somebody
anymore.
bought them. Didn't they used to have pickled eggs,
Yeah,
too?
like now in North Mississippi, you'll see the pickled quail eggs, which they'll be in a mason jar. And generally New Albany out from there, you'll see a lot of pickled quail eggs, and people love them. They swear by them, and locally grown and sourced. But there are some really – and you'll see them in gas stations. That's the thing. You'll see things that you're like, I don't know if I really want to buy this, but they're phenomenal.
That's the thing. I mean, those jars you used to see, and I know they're still out there. I just don't. If anybody knows where you can find a pickled egg in Central Mississippi, let me know. Hit us up at 601-879-4395 because it sounds mighty good right now. But you could look at those things. I mean, that didn't come. None of those things look like they came from Cisco or USA Foods. I mean, somebody took a big old jar and pickled some stuff and put it up in the gas station.
Yeah, I mean, they had to, because it didn't. Some of it would look like it had a label on it, but others would look like they just kind of refilled it. They'd be a little dingy.
Yes.
It looked like formaldehyde juice maybe and stuff that had been sitting there. I went to Auburn my freshman year, and I had to go through a bunch of little bitty and small towns going over to Auburn from Jackson. And I'd cut through like Cuba and Demopolis and Selma and Uniontown. And
Bet you got some tickets. Some speed traps along that route.
I got 2 in one day.
Oh, yeah.
I had a Dodge Stealth, too, so I thought it was red. That thing stuck out like a sore thumb, and they
were waiting for you.
They were always looking for me, man. But those little gas stations over there, those little country gas stations, always had great food, but very different than Mississippi. There's something about Mississippi. Food, gas stations, it's like a little meeting spot. My grandfather would take us, I'd wake up on a Sunday or a Saturday in McGee, Mississippi, and my favorite thing when I was a little kid, my grandfather, Mr. Walter, he would throw me in the Oldsmobile, and we'd ride around McGee, and we'd hit 3 or 4 breakfast spots, and there would always be places where his friends, 2 or 3, would be sitting. There was always like a little hole in the wall, a little gas station front, or a motel that had a little buffet, and that was so cool. The food was so different at every one of them. But I remember those memories. They were just amazing to, get to experience all of those different cuisines at a young age. And I think it really opened my palate, so that there's so much I appreciate now. I look back and it's hard to find victuals like that.
Yeah, you got to really look. Yeah. We look. There have been some endorsements on the C Spire text line of pickled pig's feet. I've never eaten that. I mean, I would now, but when I was a kid, it didn't sound particularly appealing.
That thing looked like it was from another planet.
Right.
Man. I mean, I didn't. That was like never would have thought about actually pulling one of those out. But man, they were everywhere. So we digress to food. I'm sure it's Friday, so I'm sure people have some things on mind what they're going to be grilling potentially, or what they got. Where they're going, but
I bet you some people are planning it.
I'm on the other side. I love fried catfish.
So you and me both. And Friday's the day.
Friday is your fried catfish day. I don't know what you guys think about. I've always wondered why here in Mississippi you don't see more like fried catfish on a biscuit.
No, that's a good idea.
It's not one that I've seen much.
I've never had that, but I bet it'd be good.
It'd be delicious.
I like biscuits, like fried catfish.
Yeah, I love a cat head. I love some fried catfish, fried chicken, but a pork chop piece on a biscuit, or
that's
a piece
good.
of country ham. Ooh,
that's
man.
good.
And I will say this, Bojangles, I don't know much about their fried chicken, but if you ever want a heck of a country ham biscuit, just a slice.
They got a good one.
Oh man, dude, it is so salty. And
there was a gas station just south of Louisville that used to have just the best breakfast sandwiches, and they were, I forget what the name of it was. There's still a gas station there, but it's now more of a branded big old gas station. I mean, this was the old fashioned, somebody had a metal building and some pumps and people were cooking in the back. But they would make these biscuit sandwiches with fried eggs, and they were not designed to eat in your car.
No,
I mean, it was a soft
on.
yolk, like you bite into it and it explode, which was great. But I remember people who would stop and get an egg sandwich and get back in their car and almost have a wreck because you'd bite into it, you'd shoot yolk all over yourself.
Everywhere. Well, and we have another listener from the 601. You can't beat gas station chicken livers.
Oh, look, we used to stop. There was a gas station near Carthage. Families from Starkville. I grew up in Jackson, so we'd run the road up 25 once it was all the way up there. And there used to be a gas station just outside of Carthage that just had the best, like, tater logs, chicken livers and gizzards, and we'd stop almost every time when we'd drive up there.
As a kid, the Carthage has significance to me because that's the first wards that I ever got to eat at. My dad picked me up from Mississippi State baseball camp after, not showering for a week and staying up all night with all the kids. And that was back when they would dump you off on like a Friday and pick you up on a Saturday, or dump off like a Monday or Tuesday, pick you up on a Friday. So it was about a full week. And I remember being passed out, coming back through Carthage, and Dad said, "Boy, I'm going to introduce you to Wards." Woke me up, got me a couple little ones, chili and cheese, a root beer, and some fries. Man, I've been an addict ever since, dude. So Carthage has some significant memories, and I've eaten every piece of fried chicken from every gas station around Carthage you can.
Well, William and Brandon on the C Spire text line got me the name. I thought it was Meemaw's. It was Meemaw's was the name of that place just south of Louisville, but it's gone now. Y'all, this is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Stick with us for final thoughts right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
It's time to get real.
Keeping it real.
It's time for you to get real with it.
And keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics.
Yes!
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Now that I'm starting to learn, I feel I'm growing old, 'cause yesterday's got nothing for me. Pictures that I'll always see. Time just fades the pages in my book of memories.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lucian Smith here on Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi with my man Lance Talbert here in the final segment. I tell you what, I know I say it every time, Lance, but 3 hours flies by.
Yeah, you got to get back to real work at some point.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And Tommy in Meridian has hooked it up here. It looks like you can get pickled eggs and feet and hocks and all sorts of
lips,
things.
Gallon jug if you need them, it says. Hey, and one other from that same area is the Kewanee gas station. If you haven't ever been there, right at the Tumsuba exit, I believe it's been a couple of years since I've been, but buddy, you talking about some good food around Tumsuba, Mississippi. So there's two of them there back to back saying, hey, if you want the good stuff, Tumsuba is where you go.
Well, we didn't really we talked a bunch about school choice, but didn't get into much on the national front. But I'll say one thing, just because we hadn't had much of a chance to talk about it. The Democrats are just amazing at locking in on a narrative.
Man, and if you say it enough, right?
Exactly.
Then it seems their folks have a tendency to believe it. I mean, the Nancy Pelosi interview regarding insider trading or congressional members trading, to me, was one of the unique ones a couple days ago. Questioned on that, she was just like, "Oh no, I've never done anything like that. It's just my husband.
It's just false.
And nobody. I don't believe anybody's doing it." And as Trump said, and I'm going to leave it with you, nobody in the history of finance, I worked in it, has ever had returns like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and there's at least one app that lets you put some money tracking these folks' portfolios, which, to be honest, is probably not I'm not giving financial advice.
Yeah,
she's leaving, but I hadn't done it, but I'd be tempted to put a little money there and just see what happens.
It was something we did back in the years that I worked in it. Was you followed people like Warren Buffett. Block trades were very indicative of where money was moving. But a lot of times you're getting it after the publication. They've gotten in so much earlier. Because of their ability,
maybe get a little information,
getting a little, and that in the most average retail investors aren't working with millions of dollars to put into one thing.
Right,
they're spreading that. So you're never going to get the huge returns when you're diversifying. But when there's a sure thing, and you're one of the ones that made the law,
bet on black or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Pull a Wesley Snipes. Always bet on black.
Exactly.
And that's the way I feel. If you know it's coming, you put your money down.
Yeah, that's
you'll
right.
have a great chance of, if you control those things, coming out on the other side of that. But it's a lot more difficult for average people like us that don't have that.
Yeah, well, and it's the reason that I think these bans on congressional trading make an awful lot of sense, because you really ought to be. I mean, you can put it all in a mutual fund, right? And, they'll get reasonable appreciation over time, but sitting there and trading on individual stocks when they've got an exception from the insider trading laws, I do think is unfair. But
you think about, what was her name? I just lost her name. Snoop Dogg's buddy. Martha Stewart.
Oh yeah, Martha Stewart.
She goes to jail for a while.
Jail.
You can become a senator if you don't get caught, I guess.
Well, I was thinking about the Minneapolis stuff because we were told that this ICE officer who shot the woman who had turned her car towards him. The mayor said that, first of all, first we were told she was trying to get out of there. She was confused. She had just dropped her kid off at school, and then we learned that actually she was a trained protester who was there to protest and disrupt ICE. And then we were told that the car didn't touch him and all this. And we found out yesterday that he had internal bleeding because the car hit him so
on
hard.
His head.
Yeah, I mean it just, but the media narrative hadn't shifted. They want to tell this story that you've got these evil ICE agents who are going around and just executing American citizens because it plays into a narrative that's politically helpful for them, even though it is just completely dishonest. And the media helps them. You saw it with an ICE agent shot a Venezuelan immigrant in the leg, and the headlines are all ICE agent shoots Venezuelan in the leg. They don't mention the fact that the guy was getting ambushed by people who were trying to hurt him because he was an ICE agent.
You seen what they did to some of the vehicles, stealing documents, stealing everything they could find, and burning and
getting egged on.
Oh yeah,
I mean the governor of Minnesota, who keeps in some interviews saying, "Oh, we gotta take the tone down. Let's lower the temperature," has also put stuff out that he wants people to take pictures of ICE agents so that they can be held accountable for these were his words, the atrocities being perpetrated on people in Minnesota. I mean, it's just so dishonest.
How in the world, and I'm going to leave you to answer this, how in the world can one state like Minnesota go so far off the reservation to, it doesn't even look like America at the point we are?
I think they've just got, I think the left, especially these folks who have national ambitions, they're just totally captive to this extremist base.
Is it for money?
I think it's for power. I think they think, if they were to say, well, maybe we should actually secure the borders, which 20 years ago, I mean, Obama ran on securing the borders. He criticized George W. Bush for not doing enough to secure the borders. But that's no longer fashionable. And if you said that today in the Democratic Party, like lots of things you could have said 20 years ago in the Democratic Party, they'll run you out of it. But that's where we are. So our job as a movement is to be as stable and sane as possible. Because that contrast will serve us well and let us keep making decisions. Y'all, thank you for starting your Friday here with mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. This has been Lucian Smith. Coming up next is Fox News, followed by Super Talk Mississippi News.
But don't you believe them?
SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Have equipment to sell? Mid-Delta Auction Company is now accepting early consignments for the January 30th public auction in Greenwood. Get in early for maximum exposure and nationwide marketing. Visit mdauction.com or call 662-299-2414.